Right. This is like a very hot topic right now, I think, on prediction market Twitter is kind of this comparison between prediction markets and traditional sports books and what it actually means for these things to have liquidity. So the same guy, Audie, I think I sent you the podcast he just went on where they kind of talked a little bit about this. And it was news to me that a traditional sports book is under collateralized. They don't actually have to have the payout for every single position that people are opening. They're able to just manage their risk on their side. And sort of, it's not impossible that a traditional bookie could kind of blow up under this model as, in contrast to a prediction market where every single bet kind of, has a counterparty and there's this coincidence of wants and the two parties have kind of met at the order book. Yeah, what
Yeah.
do you think of that?
Yeah, and I also think, and you mentioned the video, the Novik video with Adi on it. And that
Let's
also brings up that discussion of like, oh, are you actually trading against another person, or is there someone else at play? And by the way, shout out to this my first introduction to this channel, and I really like this video a lot. So
Yeah, let's roll the clip.
So you say your counterparty isn't the exchange. As a customer, how performatively angry should I be when I find out that's not true?
Explain to our audience what I think is going on here. He's getting at the idea that, Audie has pointed out that in a prediction market, your counterparty is not, the institution. You're not trading against Caesar's Sportsbook. You're trading against kind of peer-to-peer. These are peer-to-peer markets. If I think a thing has a 40% likelihood of happening and you think it's a 60% likelihood that it doesn't happen, we're meeting in the order book, and that's kind of what creates flow and what finds a market price, as opposed to a sports book where that isn't the case. And I think Big Buck Hunter's criticism here is, Kalshi has a huge deal with an institutional market maker, SIG, and he's kind of getting at the idea that you kind of can't say that you're not trading against the institution. You in effect are, if most of the volume is coming from a large market maker who has a large deal with the exchange, in this case, Kalshi.
yeah, that makes a lot of sense. I think that because when I've been on like Poly Market and there would be like a market that's set up for, I don't know, like a random soccer match, or I love following and watching esports. Sometimes like esports markets would come up and it would just be like silent. There's like nothing going on there. And even though I know that I could set like, limit orders and stuff, like sometimes that kind of discourages me from even like participating. So I could see why like
Right.
maybe Kalshi is incentivized to be like, hey, how do we get more liquidity within here? But yeah, this video is like pretty eye-opening for me because I fully thought in my head, I don't know, I was like, yeah, I'm definitely trading against another person. That's why prediction markets are so much better. But as they were explaining it, I'm like, oh, this makes a ton of sense. Why
Right.
they need to get liquidity somewhere.
Yeah, they do. And so it'll maybe always be, it feels like prediction markets are always at a disadvantage to traditional sports books in this sense that, especially when it comes to the long tail of potential sort of prop bets, whether they're sports bets or, some other kind of political or economic event, the more niche the event, the less liquidity there kind of is, and kind of the tougher it is to actually find a market price and to actually sort of, match two parties, right?
This is also making me think that, there's some advertising that like, prediction markets are available in many states, but that isn't quite the same with sports books. So I wonder how that's going to play out in terms of like someone going on, you know, Kalshi and like placing a bet on a sport, but then maybe in their state they can't go on DraftKings and do it. Oh, there it is.
Yeah. Well, did you see this story that see if there's a good source for this, that the Massachusetts Attorney General is actually suing Kalshi for
Mm,
this, and this is just from this week too. This is from
wow,
like 6
fresh.
days ago. Um and so I think this is starting to work its way through the system. I'm pretty sure DraftKings is headquartered in Mass. So I wouldn't be shocked if, yeah, I guess maybe it helps to make sense of why this is happening there. And it also kind of feels inevitable that this kind of thing would happen.
Yeah.
I mean, if sports betting is only legal in certain states and prediction markets are able to offer a venue for close to the same thing. The mechanics, of course, are different. Um, it's interesting.
Yeah, it tells us that prediction markets are here to stay, I guess. They're getting enough
Yeah.
attention to like have a lot of this, so
Right. We'll definitely track how this case progresses. The other person who chimed in on this entire kind of market structure conversation between sportsbooks and
Oh, I read this.
prediction
Yeah.
is the co-founder of Kalshi herself, I believe, Sarah Slane, um, with an absolute wall of text on Twitter. I don't know if you read this whole thing, but
I did
like,
actually. Yeah.
yeah, the notion that market makers, which are the backbone of all financial markets, somehow make exchanges similar to sports books is false, even in its most generous interpretation. For those of you not wanting to read an entire thread, TLDR, on a sports book, there is a single centralized entity, the house, setting prices for the entire market. On an exchange, prices are created from an amalgamation of thousands of bids and asks from thousands of entities. Market makers, including KT, compete for flow in an open, transparent, and fair marketplace and set their own prices as to what they are willing to pay for a contract. They are not able to dictate the broader market beyond that. Sort of just defending, almost defending against that idea that how performatively angry should I be when I find out that it's not the case that I'm trading peer to peer.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
then the debate kind of continued. Like, I'll just go to the source of this thread. Audie put up a X poll asking, would you consider the stock market peer to peer? And 54.9, of course, in the context, I think, of this broader conversation, the poll result came in as no. And it is an interesting question that kind of makes you consider this entire, larger issue. And then the quote tweet of this was, the answer to this question is, of course. And in the case of NASDAQ, I can tell you when it became so. In 97, 98, ECNs were granted access to the inside market. Prior, NASDAQ was a negotiated broker-to-broker market. If any/everyone has access to close the spread, it's P2P. Fair, fair, I mean, in a traditional sports book, you
Maybe.
don't have access to close the spread, right?
I don't know. It's probably a bad analogy, but like in video games, if you play against someone who coded up a bot and is like, able to just perform far better than you, is that peer to peer? No, they'd consider that cheating and saying like, I'm not actually playing against another human. In this case, like hedge funds versus retail, like it's tough to get an edge as retail.
Well, sure, but I think it's also a question of whether or not there's like gated access to being on the other side of a trade, right? Like
Sure. Okay.
you
Yeah.
actually cannot be on the other side of a sports book trade. You might be in effect on
Yeah.
the other side of the trade because of how they manage their risk. But if you're coding up a bot that is taking the other side, there's at least still this like order book where folks are meeting,
Makes
right?
sense. Yeah, it's just different approaches and strategies. Vibes guy fighting against robot.
Yeah, and Audie's response to this is market pill take. I just love hearing old timers opening. Yeah, we've seen this before. Can't wait to be the unc who has some shit. I kind of already feel that way sometimes.
That's funny.
Like we saw, I think the take here is in response to this person saying we saw the stock market break into P2P land from broker to broker land, and now effectively we are breaking open the sports books into peer-to-peer land from kind of broker to broker or like sports book bookie to peer land,
Very interesting.
yeah.